You know exactly how it starts. You're lying in bed, it's like 11:30 at night, and you're just scrolling through a fishing forum.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for, I don't know, a prop recommendation or maybe a wiring diagram, and then you see it, the thread title, it's always in all caps.
Anyways.
Heard a rumor, motor guide done, and suddenly the doom scrolling begins. You see comment after comment. My dealer said they can't get stock. I heard from a guy who knows a guy at the factory.
It is the zombie rumor of the marine industry. It refuses to die.
But the anxiety is so real. I mean, for you listening right now, just think about what's bolted to the bow of your boat. That trolling motor, it isn't a cheap accessory anymore.
Not at all.
It's a $2,000, maybe $3,000 investment. It's the engine of your whole fishing day. And if the company behind it just folds, you're not just out of luck, you're holding a very expensive, very heavy paperweight. So we really need to cut through all that forum noise. We've got the corporate filings, the dealer memos, the schematics. Is MotorGuide actually going out of business?
No. That is the headline. MotorGuide is not closing shop.
Okay.
But, and this is a big but, and this is why those forum threads exist, the company is undergoing this massive internal shift that from the outside looks a lot like a retreat.
It looks like a retreat because the shelves are empty in some places.
Exactly. But there's a huge difference between going bankrupt and rationalizing your SKUs. What we're really seeing is a legacy brand stripping its operation down to the studs to survive, well, a tech war.
Okay, so let's be the forensic accountants here.
Yeah.
We need to explain why this rumor even started, what the company is actually doing with its products, and I think most importantly for anyone listening, whether they can get parts in 5 years. So let's start with the why. Why does everyone think they're dying?
It really just comes down to two things. Visibility and parts. Over the last, say, 18 months, MotorGuide has been doing what the corporate types call streamlining.
Right.
To the average angler, that just meant they stopped making all the cheap, entry-level motors that used to be in every big box store.
The impulse buys.
The impulse buys, yeah. They cut the legacy products that were using old, outdated tooling. So when you walk into a Bass Pro Shops and you see a gap on the rack where the Varimax used to sit, your brain just goes, they're leaving the market.
But in reality, they're just stopping production on the stuff that, doesn't make money.
Or the stuff that doesn't fit their future. They aren't flooding the market with every possible variation anymore. They are prioritizing the high-demand models, and that created these inventory gaps. Dealers couldn't get the old stuff, so they told customers, we just can't get stock.
And that creates the panic loop.
That's the panic loop.
Okay, but let's push back on that a little bit. Streamlining is, it's often a nice way of saying we're broke and can't afford to run the factory. How do we know this isn't just a desperate cash crunch?
Because of who signs the checks. This is the part of the story that gets missed in the forums. MotorGuide isn't some standalone startup. They are a fully integrated subsidiary of Mercury Marine.
The Mercury Marine? Like the ones making the V10 and V12 outboards that cost more than my first house?
The very same. And Mercury, in turn, is owned by Brunswick Corporation. So we're talking about one of the largest marine recreational holding companies on the entire planet. MotorGuide has access to Mercury's supply chain, their R&D labs, their global distribution.
So if MotorGuide was actually bleeding out, Mercury would just step in and plug the hole.
Or they would have just sold it off years ago. But instead, what the data shows is more integration. They're combining back-end operations, they're sharing engineering resources. You don't integrate a company you plan to liquidate, you integrate a company you plan to keep.
That's a really crucial distinction. It's like a parent company moving the kids into the same bedroom to save on the heating bill, not kicking one out of the house.
Precisely. It's all about synergy. But, let's not pretend it's all sunshine. They are leaning on Mercury because they have to. The market has shifted so violently toward high-tech integration, and MotorGuide needs that big brother engineering support to catch up.
Let's talk about that catch-up. Because if they cut all the old stuff, what's actually left on the menu? If I go to buy a MotorGuide today, what am I actually buying?
They've effectively consolidated the entire brand around two pillars in the freshwater world, the i5 and the X3.
I see the X5 everywhere. That seems to be their flagship.
It's the workhorse.
Yeah.
The XI5 is their answer to the whole GPS revolution. It has pinpoint GPS, which is their own anchoring algorithm.
Is that actually any different from, say, Minn Kota's Spot Lock? Or is it just a branding thing?
It's functionally very similar, but the diehard MotorGuide users will tell you the jog function, moving the boat 5 feet left or right while staying locked, is actually smoother on the X5. It's a wireless-first motor designed to be operated from a remote or a wireless foot pedal.
Which gets all that cable clutter off the deck.
Exactly. And then you have the XI3. Think of the XI3 as sort of the everyman's GPS motor. It's quieter, it's more compact, and it hits a price point that makes GPS accessible to guys who aren't fishing professional tournaments.
But here's the friction point I hear about all the time. The freshwater market is one thing. But the saltwater guys, I mean, they're a different breed. They break everything. Does MotorGuide still play in the salt?
They do, and you could argue this is actually their stronghold. In freshwater, you're usually maxing out around, 80 pounds of thrust on a 24-hole system?
Yeah.
But for the saltwater series, the Bulldog and the Tour saltwater editions,
Yeah.
they ramp it up to 105 pounds of thrust.
And they go to 36 volt for that.
They actually have 48-volt options in the commercial and heavy-duty lineup.
48 volts, that's basically an electric outboard at that point.
It is massive power. I mean, think about fighting a riptide in an inlet. You need that torque. But the real deep dive insight here isn't just the power, it's the metallurgy. Saltwater is the universal solvent. It eats standard aluminum for breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
MotorGuide uses a specific anodized aluminum alloy and stainless steel shafts for these units.
And what about the electronics? Because that's usually what fails first in the salt. Just the air itself is salty.
They use fully encapsulated electronics. They pot the control boards. So they're essentially sealing them in this epoxy resin to prevent that moist, salty air from corroding the circuits.
Potting the boards is a big deal. That's military-grade waterproofing.
It is. And that's exactly why you see these motors on guide boats down in Florida. They take a beating that would kill a standard freshwater motor in a month.
Okay, so the hardware is tough, but we have to address the ghost in the machine. And I don't mean the Lawrence ghost, we'll get to that, but the ghost of stagnation. The criticism is that MotorGuide is selling 2018 technology in 2026. Is that a fair point?
It is a valid criticism, but it's becoming less true. They aren't just repainting old motors. The biggest shift we've confirmed is the move to brushless motors in their newer high-end units.
We hear brushless thrown around in power tools all the time. Why the brushless drill? Why does it matter for a trolling motor?
2 words: efficiency and noise. A brushed motor uses these physical carbon brushes to conduct electricity. That friction creates heat, and heat is just wasted energy. A brushless motor uses magnets and a computer controller. No friction, less heat, much longer battery life.
So you get more hours on the water from the same battery bank.
Exactly, and it's silent. Fish can actually hear the whine of a brush motor. Brushless is stealth. MotorGuide integrating this is absolute proof they aren't stagnant.
But they are playing catch-up, though, aren't they? We have to talk about the competition. It used to be Ford versus Chevy, Minn Kota versus MotorGuide, but now
It's a 3-way war. And the third player dropped, a nuclear bomb on the market.
Lawrence.
Lawrence and the Ghost. When Lawrence got into the trolling motor game, they didn't just build a motor. They built an entire ecosystem.
Because they already own the dashboard.
Exactly right. If you have Lawrence fish finders, which, half the market does, the Ghost motor plugs directly into them. You can steer the motor from your chart plotter, you tap a waypoint on the screen, and the motor literally drives you there.
It turned the trolling motor from a dumb prop into a smart drone.
It raised the consumer expectation overnight. Suddenly, just spinning a prop wasn't enough. You needed seamless connectivity, and this is where MotorGuide struggled at first. They had to rely on partnerships, whereas Lawrence on the whole stack.
And Minn Kota has the same advantage with Humminbird.
Correct. Minn Kota and Humminbird are basically the same family. So MotorGuide becomes the odd man out, trying to play nice with everyone else's screens.
That puts them in a tough spot strategically. But Minn Kota also leans so heavily into the luxury features, the auto stow and defloy.
The Altera, yeah. You push a button, and the motor just lowers itself into the water. It's like something out of Iron Man.
It's cool, but it's also just another thing to break.
And that is exactly where MotorGuide is finding its niche. We call it affordable reliability. They aren't trying to sell you a robot that makes you coffee. They are selling a motor that works when you stomp on the pedal. There's a huge segment of the market, let's call them the pragmatic anglers, who look at an auto-deploy motor and all they see is a future repair bill.
The more complex the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain.
That's it. MotorGuide is betting that there is still a market for robust simplicity.
Which brings us to the owner survival guide. Because even simple machines break. If I'm listening to this and I have a MotorGuide X5 on my bow, what do I need to do right now to make sure it lasts?
Okay, step 1 is the don't panic audit. Go check your warranty status. If you just bought it, register it. I know nobody likes filling out the card, but that registration is your lifeline to the Mercury support network.
And what about parts? I mean, we started this whole deep dive talking about the fear of not getting parts. What's the reality there?
It's a mixed bag. The vitals are safe. Props, shear pins, control boards, the lower unit seals, these are all stocked. You can get them on Amazon or through a certified dealer in like 48 hours.
So if I had a stump and shear a pin, I'm not out for the season.
No, not at all. But if you break a specific plastic mounting bracket cover for a model that was discontinued 5 years ago, you might be scouring eBay.
That's the legacy tax.
It is, which is why my recommendation is to build a crash kit.
A crash kit.
Yeah, don't wait for the failure. Buy a spare prop, buy a seal kit, buy the bushings for the pivot points. These are wear items. They are going to fail eventually. Having them in your garage changes a 3-week downtime into a 1-hour Saturday repair.
Okay, let's get into the silent killers. What is the #1 thing people do to destroy these motors without even realizing it?
It's a silent assassin. Braided fishing line.
I feel like everyone learns this lesson the hard way.
You're fishing, you feel a little bump, maybe you ran through some hydrilla or something, you think nothing of it. But a single strand of 50-pound braid is wrapped around the prop shaft, behind the prop hub where you can't see it.
And as the motor spins, that braid just acts like a tiny saw?
It creates friction. Friction creates heat. The heat melts the rubber output seal. And once that seal is compromised, water gets into the lower unit.
And water inside an electric motor is a death sentence.
It emulsifies the oil, corrodes the armature, and it shorts the board. A 10-cent piece of fishing line causes a $600 lower unit replacement.
So what's the protocol then?
After every single trip, or at least every few trips, just take the prop off. It takes 30 seconds. Pull the prop, check the shaft. If you see any line, cut it out.
That is the cheapest insurance policy you can possibly buy. What about the saltwater rinse? I feel like people hear corrosion resistant and they think it means corrosion proof.
There is no such thing as corrosion proof. Saltwater will corrode gold if you give it enough time. Even with that anodized aluminum we talked about, you have to rinse the motor with fresh water. Dissolve those salt crystals. If you let them sit, they expand, they crack seals, they lock up your steering cables.
I've heard people talk about the MotorGuide squeak. Is that a real thing?
Oh, it is. It's usually the shaft collar or the steering transmission. If you hear it squeaking like a dying cat when you turn, you've waited way too long.
You need to grease it before it screams at you.
Use a marine-grade dielectric grease. Hit the shaft collar, hit the pivot points. Annual maintenance prevents the squeak.
Okay, so looking forward, we've established they're alive, they have a solid niche, they're backed by Mercury. But is there actual R&D happening? Or is Mercury just milking the cash cow until it dies?
We track the patent filings. That's the best way to see what's coming. You don't file patents for a dead company.
And what are they filing?
We've seen a number of filings related to advanced stow and deploy mechanisms. So that suggests they are absolutely gunning for Minn Kota's Altera dominance. They know they need an auto-deploy feature to compete in that high-end market.
That's a strong signal.
We also see continued investment in dealer training. Mercury is actively training mechanics on MotorGuide diagnostics. That's a long-term play. The roadmap suggests they are trying to pivot from just being a budget option to a legitimate tech competitor.
The trolling motor wars are definitely heating up.
It's an arms race, and MotorGuide is reloading.
So to wrap this up for everyone listening, if you see that forum post, just scroll past it. MotorGuide is here. They are backed by the biggest wallet in the marine industry, and they're focusing on the She series and heavy-duty saltwater apps.
The rumors are just noise. It's a supply chain correction, not a bankruptcy.
But before we let you go, I want to leave you with a provocative thought. We spent a lot of time talking about how MotorGuide is catching up to the high-tech, integrated touchscreen systems like the Lawrence Ghost.
Right, the whole smart boat revolution.
But is there maybe a hidden risk in that revolution? We are putting these boats in the harshest environments possible. Pounding waves, baking sun, saltwater spray. Do you really want your primary propulsion to be a supercomputer that needs to handshake with 3 other screens just to turn left?
That is the counter-argument, yeah. Complexity invites failure.
Exactly. Maybe the dumber motor has a hidden advantage. When you are 30 miles offshore and your screen glitches or the network cable corrodes, that smart motor might just be a brick. But the simple, isolated system, it just keeps spinning.
There's a lot to be said for analog reliability in a digital world.
Something to chew on while you're prepping the boat this weekend. Thanks for diving in with us. Keep your lines tight and seriously check behind that prop for fishing line.
See you on the water.